Do you need any help, dearest? Oh, one bowl. I don't know why I didn't think of that. But here, give it to me, and then you can use both hands on the ladder. I would have helped you get up, you know. Oh, that doesn't matter. I wish you would have said something sooner. I don't know, but I still would have liked to have known, I guess. Yeah, the blanket's all set up. I, for one, don't enjoy sitting directly on shingles. Maybe the next little renovation we do is adding some stairs and a flat rooftop deck. I can look into what sort of permits we need to make that happen. I mean, the actual beach houses all have something similar, so surely it can't be completely disallowed and against city regulations. It'd be nice to have an official place to do this rather than makeshifting something together every time. Put in one of those double wide patio lounge chairs so we can cuddle up close and watch the stars in comfort. Well, you're right. It would be. But it would also have too much potential for us to scandalize the neighbors. In a single lounger, one of us would have to be in the other's lap, and, well, who am I to stop things from occasionally taking a natural turn after that? Well, shingles, even covered by a blanket, tend to be uncomfortably rough. We found that out last time, remember? Oh, make me see stars. That joke was awful. No. I won't. I also don't want the ice cream you so painstakingly brought up here to go to waste. Believe it or not, I am not a fan of ice cream soup. I intend to enjoy it just like this, both for what it is and for what it symbolizes. It symbolizes the love and care you have for me, for what matters to me. Thank you for taking the time to plan this for me. It was the sweetest surprise I've had in a long time. exactly how excited I was for this until you mentioned it. I can't believe I've never asked you this, but what's your favorite constellation? Oh, good choice. Why? I love that. I do. For ones I've seen. Canis Major? Oh, you wound me. That's practically stereotypically discriminatory, and in a way that doesn't even make sense. Oh, you owe me for that one. No, go away. Go over to your side of the blanket, but leave the ice cream. Canis Major. My favorite that I've seen is Pegasus. His constellation just looks like a kite, really, but the story was magical, especially for a kid. I mean, a winged horse. I'd watched my dad shift so often by the time I was 8 that the concept of shapeshifting was as natural as breathing. I knew I'd have that ability one day. I'd always sort of secretly hoped that I might be able to turn into something like Pegasus when my magic manifested. I remember how disappointed I was when Dad said we could only ever turn into wolves. I love it now and couldn't imagine it any other way, but my 11-year-old heart was thoroughly broken for a good couple of months after that. But my favorite of all time is the jewel box, even though I've never seen it. No, I haven't. There was this book on basic astronomy in my elementary school's library. I don't even remember how many times I checked that book out, but I loved it. It didn't go too in depth. I couldn't even tell you about most of it anymore, but I remember it had a section with constellations that were more rare to spot, whether that was in certain parts of the world or just ones that needed particular equipment to find. I don't remember. But I do remember I was convinced that if I just looked hard enough, I could find them all. Like they were part of Where's Waldo. He's always there if you're just careful enough about how you look at the picture. I knew enough about the sky to know that certain constellations were only visible at certain parts of the year, but I didn't realize that certain ones were only ever visible in certain hemispheres or completely undetectable with the naked eye. I remember one Saturday night, I went to the end of the driveway and just looked. And I counted all the constellations I could see, almost like it was my own personal Pokédex. Mark down what you found and figure out where the blanks in your information are. Eventually, you'll have a complete scorecard if you're thorough. Mom came out to get me for bed, and she asked me what I was doing, but all I told her was stargazing. I was really looking for the jewel box. I never did tell anyone what I was looking for. If I had, Dad probably would have pointed out that it isn't ever visible from where we live. You can only see it in the southern hemisphere. I was in college before I realized that. I still love it, though. It's still my favorite. Stars are just so fascinating. I don't know if I'm supposed to take that as a compliment or not, but I'm choosing to. Because it is romantic. The whole concept of humans looking up at this vast expanse and essentially playing connect the dots and then building stories behind it. And that's just the idea of constellations. Add in the actual science of the stars themselves. The light we see is millennia old. And it's hard not to be awed in the truest, most accurate sense of the word. I might turn into a wolf on a whim, but this is true magic. In a lot of ways, you're like the jewel box to me. When I was little, I wanted a relationship like my parents had. That love and that trust. The true partnership. Watching them was sort of like reading that astronomy book. It set me on the path to the ideas of what I wanted. As I grew up, I realized it wasn't as easy as just standing there and waiting, willing the jewel box to show up, or a partner to appear in my life. It was something special and wonderful that was so much more complicated than just standing where I was and expecting it. I had to be in the right place at the right time with all of the required equipment. Or, in the case of a relationship, the right attitude. And then you came along and you shined so brightly. I couldn't help but be struck by it. Like magic. Mm. 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 Thank you for the night. I know I've said it, but really, I know the ice cream is half melted by now, but I do still intend to eat it. And this is still perfect. But there's something bothering me that I need to talk to you about. No, nothing like that. I'm worried about you. You do so much to take care of everyone, to take care of me, and I appreciate every bit of it. But the biggest thing you could do right now for me is to take care of you. You give and you give and you give without hesitation or complaint. And that isn't a complaint of mine, dearest. It isn't. Your giving heart is one of the things I am so grateful for. It's one of the things I love about you. But I worry. I know you can't refuse to do what your job needs of you. And there are times you can't refuse things outside of work. But you don't have to continually go above and beyond for me. I know you want to, and I know it's mostly little things, and I appreciate them so much. But it's perfectly okay to not always do those things. It's okay to take a breather. I could have gotten the ice cream or set up the ladder. I could have been the one to grab those picture hangers we needed from the home improvement store rather than you insisting on going 20 minutes out of your way to pick them up. Just because it was 15 minutes out of mine. I don't want to deny you the opportunity to show your beautiful heart in the ways it feels right for you to. But I also don't want you to burn yourself out. I want you to feel like you have room for you, for things that you want to do, for things you enjoy doing for yourself, not just for others, in the time that you do have. I love you so much, dearest. Your presence in my life is the greatest wonder I've ever had the privilege to experience. I hate it when you overtax yourself. It hurts me to see you so thoroughly beyond spent that you have nothing left to be able to give even the smallest bits to yourself. It's so frustrating for me when I realize that you've gotten to that point because you haven't let me help you. We're partners. We're a team, not two islands existing separately in the same cove. You always let me know how much I can lean on you. Remember, you can lean on me, too. You're my mate, and I love you. I know. I just... When the new project launched this week, I couldn't help but notice little things that made me concerned, and I figured it was better to talk about them before it spiraled out for either of us. I just want you to feel supported and cared for, because I do so much. Mm. I can. Just promise me you'll let me help you more. Thank you. Now, pass the ice cream soup. Alright, do you see that one? That's Cassiopeia. The constellation is so convoluted to turn into a woman that I've seen multiple ways to achieve it. She was an arrogant queen who told Zeus that her daughter